Okay, we're going to move away from our office supply store and we're going to start looking at things that are just kind of already around your house. Now, this doesn't mean they're going to be around everybody's house. So some of these may move on to the next category, which is going to be found at your local store. But these are things that typically you're going to find around your home. So the very first one is a timer. So we all know that showing the passage of time is huge. Time is a very abstract concept. And so trying to figure out how long things take, or when do you need to be ready for school, when do you need to be ready to switch tasks, can be very, very difficult. So kitchen timers are great. They're fairly cheap. Most people have one somewhere. These have went away a little bit with the evolution of cell phones because those timers have become a little more prevalent on phones. But that being said, these also can be free on phones, iPads, laptops, Chromebooks. So timers there can be phenomenal. There's 1,000,001 different apps for this.
I was going to say, even like my kids are home right now. My husband's not home and I'm presenting. And so I set, we use Google in our house. So I set a Google alarm and I said, you can have your snack, watch TV until 4:15. And then the Google timer alarm went off and they knew they needed to start their homework and get that finished. And so that's something that has been, my kids have been very responsive. I don't think we use those tools as much in schools because of privacy. But I think, encouraging families to use them at home can be really great. My kids transition from Google timer better than if I say it's time to do your homework. They just, for whatever reason, they
it's
know
not
that
you saying it.
Yeah. And then smartwatches too. I've got my Apple Watch on, that helps keep me on time. And I'm seeing more and more secondary students who are using them, but I think even like middle school students are having access to these smartwatches more frequently too. So setting up reminders in smartwatches can be a very helpful tool, and it's a little bit more subtle when it maybe vibrates on your arm to remind you that maybe you need to start, packing up your books, or you need to transition to a new assignment to keep you on task.
And now this is interesting because we are talking about low and no cost AT, and we're bringing up smartwatches, but we're bringing this up in phones, not because the device itself, the cost of, but the fact that a lot of our students already have these things, right? So a lot of our students already have access to these things. So using the features that are already there at that point become no cost.
Yeah, and just teaching them how these tools, these high-tech tools, can keep them organized, because maybe they just think about it as my friend's texting me and I'm getting my text message on my watch. So it's nice to sort of redirect them to some of those executive functioning supports that are already built in. The next one that we had was the idea of clothespins. And you can use clothespins for a lot of different things. This is just one example. So I kind of applied it to that idea back to the sticky notes, where maybe we're working on transition words or something, and then you might have those transition words on here, and every time you're using a transition word in your writing, you're putting a clothespin there so that you're working on that self-monitoring. You're not just using that sticky note as a support. You could certainly do this with a sticky note if you printed this on the sticky note as well. And what I did is I used lesson picks, which I think lesson picks is a somewhat low cost support compared to some of the other visual support tools that are out there. It's $36 a year, which is still a lot, but less than maybe 200. And so it can be a really nice support even that families can afford to use if they want to create some of these visuals at home. And so I created this using PowerPoint. I downloaded the tally card template, a blank template. Then I brought it into PowerPoint and used my my Lesson Picks add-on to get the picture on here. And then I just created text boxes. Other tally cards I thought of, because again, my background is as a speech language pathologist focusing on augmentative communication. I thought this would be a neat way for students to sort of self-monitor when we're trying to get them to communicate, for multiple functions, not just always saying like, I want. Okay, well, here's the support. I want you to start asking where questions. Okay, how many times did you ask a where question today? Or even working on word endings. So maybe I want them to be using that present progressive ending, ing ending on words. Okay, how many times have we done that? Or it could just even be a support for staff working with that individual. How many times did you use the social page today? And, say, uh-oh, or make a comment from that social page. Awesome, cool. So just, different ways to kind of get a little bit of that self-monitoring or that data collection can be a really neat way to use clothespins. Does anyone have any other ideas?
I was just going to jump in. I've also really liked using clothespins for things like keeping gloves together. So when you take your gloves off in the hallway, clipping them together so they stay together. I've seen, parents using them for keeping socks together, helping kids match their socks and then keeping them together. And then I've also seen them to kind of cue students. So for example, maybe, the paper that they need to work on next maybe has the clothespin on it, or clipping like 1, 2, 3 clothespins to things for tasks. You need to do this first, this second, this third. Or for different things like if students maybe are, and I'm thinking of a home example, but you can do similar things at school, for like maybe picking out a clothing outfit for Monday and then a different outfit for Tuesday, and then putting the correct clothespin on each one so they can match them up. So then maybe Monday, they can just grab the clothes that have those clothespins on them. Same things kind of at school. So if it's a different special that day, maybe they're going to grab the one with a clothespin that matches. So it's a really good way to label things in a very temporary manner.
This was another one that I thought was ingenious about things that we might have around our home. And so it's really just like those pants hangers that you get from the store that you probably just throw away. And you can use it to keep that book open. So anybody that may have difficulty juggling, that textbook and keeping it open. And then I also liked it for kids that maybe have visual impairments. You can kind of see it's cut off a little bit, but it looks like it's hanging on a cabinet. So if you wanted it at more of an eye level for somebody who really couldn't look down at a book, that would be another cheap and easy way to get that up, sort of like an easel, but it's a pants hanger that we all throw out usually.
And then we're talking about hook and loop, so Velcro, right? This is a really great resource for so many things. So this can be for temporary fasteners, things that just need to be held in place for a short period of time, like movable schedules, reorganizing things, labeling things. For some students to be able to be independent in fastening jackets or shirts. This can be great. And then one of the kind of out of the box ways that I've had some students be really successful with this is actually as a sensory tool or a fidget tool. So being able to take the different textures of Velcro or hook and loop and put them underneath your desk, just where students can run their fingers back and forth across them or on a folder, it really can provide that extra sensory. And again, a fidget that's not, super disruptive or obvious to their peers.
What I think is interesting is how popular and mainstream fidgets have become. I think you can go to Target now and find so many fidgety things that are actually made as a fidget, not just even, using Velcro. So some of these things are still nice. We forget about these old-fashioned fidgets that we used to use maybe more so because we've got all the flashy fidgets that we see in the stores now. But something as simple as this, some Velcro or hook and loop, as Cassie corrected me, can still be a really powerful tool. So talking about stores like Target, we're going to now switch gears to things that we might find at our local stores. And again, Fidgets. So we've got a few ideas on here, but really just walking through the dollar section of Target or going to the dollar store, there's lots of different things. I think what we need to keep in mind is what's engaging to that student. Not every fidget is going to be something that helps that student regulate, stay on task. But you know, we really still have to sort of feature match our fidget, right, to our student and what their needs are.
I personally love like the idea of using things like paper clips or the pony beads and the key rings just because they're smaller. And when working with students up into the junior high and high school, a lot of things that are a little bit smaller sometimes are more well received. And when you can find something that's super cost effective, you know, you can hand them out pretty regularly to students. So those are some of the things I really enjoy, are just some of those smaller ones.
And I love like the Lego one. I mean, I just think we've got a million Legos in our house and the sets don't always stay together. And so, you know, utilizing some of those different things can be really powerful and again, cost effective. Another one, page puffers. So some things that you might be able to find at the store to help you make some of these page puffers. Here we've got some of the little poofy cotton ball things, pom-poms, hot glue dots. I had a teacher that got super excited because she had a student that just needed a little bit of just a fluff on that page to get that student's finger underneath, and she just used hot glue dots, and they just, you know, it was easy to pick them off when she was done with them. She also printed out we use the unique curriculum, so she prints out some of the books, and those are just on paper, and she sends them home for parents, but the sheets of paper can be difficult to get your finger under, and so she just would put a quick glue dot on the corner of each of those, and it dries quick and worked really well for students. Craft foam, just like you can get the sheets of craft foam, that works. Puffy paint, paper clips, you can cut up pool noodles and use little pieces of pool noodles, buttons, the possibilities are endless. Go to your Joann's Fabric and see what you can find in the craft store that you can use as page fluffers.
Battery interrupters are something that can be used really frequently to adapt any type of battery powered toy or device to work with a switch. So while you do need to purchase auxiliary cables and copper foil in order to make these, we all know that buying switch adapted devices already adapted are rather expensive. So these do require a few more dollars. They are one of the more expensive things that we are sharing, but by comparison, this is much more low cost than the alternative. So I did put in links here for the cables and the copper foil that I've used for this with success, and then some directions as well.
And I almost feel like sometimes it's a disposable adaptation, because those battery interrupters, you spend a lot of money on them and they don't always last very long. So it's nice to be able to know how to make them yourself. And you can even share them with families so they can adapt some of their own toys in their own homes too. Pool noodles. So this was probably my favorite, just because we had, like, in our house, my daughter had to dress up like she was 100 years old for the 100th day of school. So I went in search of these little foam rollers for her hair, which she had in her hair. And I found them at the dollar store. And so when I saw this picture of using it to build up the handle of the fork or the toothbrush, that seems so ingenious to me. And again, dollar store item. And we know that you can do a lot with pool noodles. And I liked this one. This Uno card holder was just using an egg carton and cutting slits in the top to hold the cards of the Uno game. And then we're nearing the end here. So found in your school supply closet. I want to make sure we get to this one because I also really loved this idea that Cassie had.
Yeah, so as we're wrapping up here, some of these last few slides, you'll probably have to check out on your own just because we do want to honor people's time. But this one is super cool. So as you are using phones and iPads more and more to take photos of things, to have things read aloud, to be able to write on a digital version, to keep things organized, even using things like Rocketbook, it can be really, really hard for a lot of students to try to hold the phone or the iPad stable and at the right height in order to do that. And there's a video here that shows how to create a scan and read station with plexiglass, cardboard, things like that. But one of the greatest, low cost hacks that I found for this is actually using the locker shelf. So in junior highs and high schools, you can buy, these metal shelves that go in the bottom of lockers to keep books off of the bottom. And those are actually at just a great height to be able to use as a scanning station. And with the holes in it, it's really easy to line up a phone or an iPad camera right in between those. So it's something that you can have set up in the back of your classroom. You can put the material underneath it. A student can push the button, and it's really easy to get that right height to get the paper centered on the screen.
And I've had a lot of ideas for using the plexiglass barriers that a lot of our schools bought for the pandemic that I know maybe went unused. And I thought this was a great idea for using some of those if you watch the video from Therese Wilcom, and she has a scan and read station that she created using corrugated cardboard from like political signs, and then that clear plexiglass or acrylic. And we have so much of that in school buildings that I don't think will ever get used again. So you reuse some of those different things that are out there. And then our last slides really are just our electronic resources. And I linked in a whole bunch of AT Forward meetings that we've done going back to 2020 that go through how to do some of the accessibility and some of the organization and some of the tools that are now low cost because our districts are already using them. So we have our low tech tools, but we also have some of the high tech tools, and we've done just a lot of meetings, and a lot of that's we've already gone over all of that. So make sure to check those out. And I think that's all we have for tonight. So if you have any questions, we can stay on, or anything that you'd like to share, we will be quiet for a few minutes.